All right, y'all. Welcome back to another series. This is series 25. We're still in Bereshith, which is Genesis. We're going to start in chapter 36. Before we begin there, if you checked out the last series, there's a lot that's been going on. When you check into these series, as we get into this next one, it's going to talk about a lot of women, where they came from, their history, and then also what you should do is go ahead and try to check out what race of people were they. You know, uh, just because you have a certain skin color and things like that, it doesn't mean that you can't live for God. But when you go back and look through here, go through the scriptures and see where they came from and things of that nature, their lifestyle and all that, you'll get a better understanding of people, their tendency, the history of those people, the gods that they worship, the lifestyles that they had, and then you'll be able to better align it up with yourself and your choices. Now, we talk about the brothers here, Jacob and Esau. We're going to see the difference, Israel, if you check that out. We're going to see the difference of lifestyles. Remember, that the mother, Rivka, stole the blessing, right? She pretended that he was Esau. Yishak gave the blessing to the younger son, and he had to go off and choose a wife from the relatives of the mother, right? So now we see everything coming together. We see what type of women he has, the things he's dealing with. And this is a shift now because you have the younger brother taking on the leadership role of the dad, and now he's getting the inheritance and going down. Now we're going to see the type of women that the other one has, right? And we're going to see what happened with them and things like that nature, the differences, if there's any struggles and things like that. And that's going to be key. All right. Mixing in. When we get to the Bible, it talks about not mixing in with certain people. And then your mother, not wanting a woman from this certain type of family. Now, if you're being grown up, let's say that you were raised by a different type of people. Maybe your parents didn't want you, maybe you were adopted or things like that, and they have requirements for who they want you to marry, things like that. Maybe they want you to like their mother, daughters. Sometimes if they're close to their mothers, they want you to like their mother in order for them to be with you. Well, if that's a requirement, you have to let them know. You just can't just see what happens if you don't want them. Why spend all that time with a person that's not going to like you? You have to know these people. You can't. The person is not for your mother. It's for you, right? You want your mother dating the same person you're with? How are you going to feel safe with that? It doesn't make them them. You know what I mean? That's just not going to happen. So you have to be able to allow them to choose. Just because you're unattracted to them doesn't mean that you're not attracted to someone else. You can't force someone to like you or love you. Like Leah, look what happened with Leah. She was just unloved. She had to buy her husband for the night and all that. You can't put people in those situations. Now, if we go back in time, remember, he was sent there by his mother. So, assuming that, he thinking that God is involved in this and things like that, that's why he chose those women. All right. So, that's going to be key. So, as we dive into this, we're going to see a lot more into this. So, let's go ahead. 36, verse 2. Esau took his wives from the daughters of Canaan. Ada, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Alibama. All right, that's a different name there. The daughter of Anna, the daughter of Sibon, to Sibon. You can pronounce the T, sometimes it's silent. The Hittite. All right, so Hittite, Hittite. All right, look up those races of people. Look up the type of hairstyles they had. Look up the eye colors. Look up the skin colors and things of that nature. It's skin colors that are talked about in the Bible that represent sickness, that represent disobedience, that represent diseases and things of that nature. You want to check that out, all right? And then again, his mother didn't want Jacob to have a daughter from the land of Canaan. All right, what type of women were they? You got to look into that, all right? Remember, she was chosen by God. His mother was chosen by God. They had confirmation. So, looking at how all that happened, we all had the Savior come down, the Son of God, to save us all. You have to choose the right woman, all right? That's going to be on you. You can't let your mother or your aunt or your cousin or anybody you're close to, your friend, choose the woman for you. They may have some good pointers because they think that you're like this and things like that nature, but only you know yourself. All right, as we to continue on in base map, Ishmael's daughter sister of Nebaioth. All right, so Yishmael. Remember Yishmael? He's still involved in this, all right? He's still involved in everything that's going on. So, Yishmael's daughter, that's his uncle, right? Let's keep going. And Ada bore Eliphaz to Esau. Remember Ada? All right. And Basemath bore Reuel. All right, so we see here these women are giving birth. We don't see the name of God or anything like that. Yishmael is brought up. He's going to be made into a great nation. So what does this mean for this man here? All right, we don't see anything talking about struggles or anything like that between the women he got. You know, maybe he lives more like these people than his brother does, you know, because God is involved in a lot of his dealings. So as we continue on, and Alibamah bore Yush and Yalam and Korah. These were the sons of Esau who were born to him in the land of Canaan. And Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the beings of his household and his herds and all his beasts and all his possessions which he had gained in the land of Canaan, and went to a land away from the presence of his brother Jacob. For their possessions were too great for them to dwell together, and the land of their sojournings could not support them because of their herds. All right, we're going to stop right there. That's going to be key. Now, when we go back and we talk about Lot, remember Lot came along when he told him to take his wife, him and his wife, to a land which he showed him. He brought Lot. Look what happened. Similar thing. You know, he was with his brother. Lot is different, but Esau and Jacob are together now, and it talks about them dwelling together. It was too great. They had too many possessions. You know, their kids had too many clothes, too many toys, too many things going on. A lot of money around. You know, a lot of food around. You know, a lot of dishes. You got to clean up. If y'all, especially if y'all in the same house, we're not talking just the same land. What if they living in the same house? It doesn't say, but all their possessions they got, it's too much. You know, maybe sometimes Jacob, he probably didn't have enough. He go to his brother and start using his things, and things like arguments and things like that happening. Look, they had to separate. Look, they couldn't support them. The land could support them. It's too much going on. You trying to guard vegetables over here. You doing it over here. Y'all growing the same thing. Why y'all just can't make one arguments, right? We don't need that much, or you don't need that much, you know, and all this. I was here first. All this that's coming along, right? How are women important in this? Well, you see that the women from Esau, they did what he said, right? They left. So he didn't have nobody interfering, no dad. We don't talk about his wife stealing, you know, mighty ones and things like that. We don't see that in here. The kids, were they getting into it with each other? We don't know. But we see that the women from these other lands and people, they're giving birth. They're doing the same thing, right? They're doing good. You know, they giving kids to this man that he's being made a great nation, the same as Yishmael, right? We see that, you know, even though he's from another mother, he's still involved with his brother. So that's going to be key. You know, if you're dealing with a woman that has kids from another man, or if you're a man that has had kids from another woman and you with a wife now, I know that your kids still going to be involved somehow. Especially if they know who you are and things like that. They may want to have contact with each other and things of that nature. And then because, you know, they don't come from the same dad or same mom, those kids may want the daughters and things of that nature. So you have to be prepared for all that is going on, because although there were no laws against that back then, no 10 Commandments or anything like that, we haven't got there yet. Those things were happening. Although they knew good and evil, these things were happening. So we're going to leave it at here. But we see that these are not the same women that were chosen or chose for the inheritance. These are different type of women. They do the same thing. As long as they do good, you know, they should be able to be accepted, you know, especially if they choose the right God. But you got to remember that although they don't believe in the same God, they're blessed. Look how much money they had. Look at the lifestyle they had, things of that nature. So we're going to get some key points out. But other than that, this is just a quick little overview of this, just comparison to the different types. You see this man here, he was able to get all that without, you know, deceiving his father-in-law. You know, his father, even though the inheritance went to his brother, look, he's still blessed. He got money, things of that nature. So he's still taken care of. And having that, having all this could lead you away from God. All right. So where's your focus at? You know, you always want to be focused on God. All right. God bless.